The morning sun rose gently over the village, spreading golden light across the dusty roads and mud houses. Roosters crowed from different compounds while women swept their yards with long brooms made from palm fronds. But inside one old house at the edge of the village, there was no peace. Madam Koikoi sat alone on a wooden bench, staring at the cracked wall in front of her. Her face had changed over the years. The woman who once walked around the village with pride and fear now looked tired and worried. Her 3 daughters sat nearby, arguing among themselves. "Why are you looking at me?" the eldest shouted. "You are the reason we are in this mess." The second daughter folded her arms. "Me. At least I tried to find work. What have you done apart from posting pictures online every day?" The youngest hissed loudly. "You are both failures. Leave me alone." Their voices filled the house like angry bees. Madam Koikoi closed her eyes. This was not the life she had imagined. Years ago, she believed Joy would become nothing. She believed her favorite daughters would succeed, while Joy remained poor and dependent forever. But life had chosen a different path. The daughters she protected had become a source of shame and disappointment. The daughters she hated had become a source of pride. And that truth was beginning to destroy her. Meanwhile, hundreds of kilometers away in Lagos, Joy stood beside the large glass window of her office building. The city stretched endlessly before her. Cars moved like ants below. Tall buildings touched the sky. Employees greeted her respectfully as they walked past. "Good morning, Ma." "Good morning, Ma Joy." She smiled warmly. "Good morning, everyone." That smile had not changed. It was the same smile she wore as a little girl carrying heavy water containers from the stream. The same smile she wore while washing dishes for hours. The same smile she wore while enduring insults and punishments from her mother. The world had changed around her. But Joy remained Joy. Friends often wondered how she stayed so cheerful after everything she experienced. Few people knew the full story. Even fewer understood the pain hidden behind her bright smile. Before we continue this emotional journey, kindly like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Tales by Savvy Sam for more powerful stories of resilience, family drama, karma, and triumph. Your support helps this channel grow and allows more people to discover these unforgettable stories. Joy turned away from the window and entered the conference room. Several executives were waiting. One of them stood immediately. "Congratulations once again, Madam Joy. The board has approved the expansion project." Applause filled the room. Joy thanked them politely. The meeting continued for almost 2 hours. When it finally ended, she returned to her office. As she sat down, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. But something told her to answer. "Hello." The voice on the other side was shaky. "Joy." Her heart stopped. She knew that voice. Even after many years. Even after all the pain. It was her mother, Madam Koikoi. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. The silence felt heavy. Finally, Joy spoke. "Good afternoon, Mama." The older woman began crying immediately. Real tears. Not anger. Not shouting. Not insults. Just tears. Joy was shocked. Throughout her childhood, she had never seen her mother cry. Never. "Mama," she asked carefully, "are you all right?" The crying continued. Then Madam Koikoi spoke between sobs. "I need to see you." Joy remained silent. Thousands of memories flooded her mind. The beatings. The insults. The endless chores. The hunger. The humiliation. The loneliness. Every painful memory returned at once. Yet she controlled herself. "What happened?" Joy asked. "I need to tell you something." Joy's voice became cautious. "What is it?" "I cannot say it on the phone." Another silence followed. Then her mother added quietly, "Please come home." Home. The word sounded strange. For years, Joy had avoided that village. Not because she hated it. The villagers had always been kind to her. But the memories were difficult. Very difficult. Returning meant reopening wounds she had spent years trying to heal. Still, Something about her mother's voice felt different. Broken. Afraid. Desperate. For the first time in her life, Madam Koikoi sounded like someone asking for help. And despite everything, Joy could not ignore it. "I will think about it," she replied softly. The call ended. Joy sat quietly. Her assistant entered moments later. "Ma, are you okay?" Joy nodded slowly. "Yes." But she wasn't. Her heart was restless. Questions raced through her mind. Why was her mother suddenly calling? What was so important? Had something happened? Or was this another trap? That evening, Joy visited the orphanage she secretly supported every month. Children ran toward her excitedly. "Auntie Joy! Auntie Joy is here!" Laughter filled the compound. Small hands grabbed her dress. Tiny faces looked up at her with admiration. Joy laughed and hugged them. These children reminded her of herself. Children who needed love. Children who needed protection. Children who deserved kindness. One little girl sat beside her. The child looked about 8 years old. "Why are you sad today?" the girl asked. Joy blinked. "Sad?" The child nodded. "Your smile is different." Joy laughed softly. Children always notice things adults missed. She touched the girl's hair gently. "I'm just thinking about something." The child smiled. "My teacher says problems become smaller when we face them." Joy stared at her. Such wisdom from such a small child. That night, she could not sleep. She lay awake staring at the ceiling. The phone call replayed repeatedly in her mind. By morning, she had made her decision. She would go home. Not because she trusted her mother. Not because she expected an apology. But because she needed answers. Some wounds never heal until the truth is revealed. 2 days later, her black SUV entered the village road. Word spread immediately. Joy has returned. The successful Joy. Joy is back. Villagers rushed outside. Many remembered the hardworking little girl who carried water every day. Many remembered how badly she had been treated. Now they stared in amazement. The same girl had returned as a respected and successful woman. Children followed the vehicle excitedly. Women waved. Elders smiled proudly. Joy greeted everyone warmly. As always. No pride. No arrogance. Just kindness. Eventually, the vehicle stopped in front of her childhood home. Joy stepped out slowly. Her heart pounded heavily. The house looked smaller than she remembered. Older. Worn out. Broken in places. Time had not been kind to it. The front door creaked open. And there stood Madam Koikoi, the feared woman of the village. But she no longer looked powerful. Her shoulders were bent. Her eyes were swollen. Her face carried deep regret. For several moments, they simply stared at each other. Mother and daughter. Separated by years of pain. Connected by blood. Finally, Madam Koikoi whispered, "Thank you for coming." Joy nodded quietly. Then she followed her mother inside. Neither of them knew that the conversation waiting ahead would reveal a shocking secret buried for decades. A secret that would explain every beating, every punishment, every act of hatred. And when the truth finally came out, it would shake the entire family forever. The rooster had not yet crowed when Joy opened her eyes. Darkness still covered the village. Most children her age were asleep, wrapped comfortably in their beds. But Joy had no such privilege. At just 10 years old, she already knew what awaited her every morning. Work. Endless work. She quietly stood from the thin mat where she slept and tiptoed outside. The cool morning air touched her face. For a brief moment, she enjoyed the silence. It was the only peaceful time she ever experienced. Soon, the shouting would begin. Soon, Madam Koikoi would wake up. And nothing would ever be enough. Joy picked up 2 empty water containers and started walking toward the village stream. The journey took almost 30 minutes. The containers felt light now because they were empty. The difficult part would come during the return trip. As she walked along the narrow path, she greeted the villagers she met. "Good morning, Mama." "Good morning, Papa." Everyone smiled when they saw her. Good morning, Joy. Always awake before everyone. What a hard-working child. Joy smiled brightly as always. No one knew she had gone to bed hungry the previous night. No one knew she had been beaten because one plate accidentally slipped from her hands. No one knew she cried herself to sleep after everyone else had fallen asleep. Or perhaps some people knew. But nobody dared to challenge Madam Koikoi. The woman had built a reputation that frightened everyone. People whispered stories about her. Some claimed she practiced dark spiritual rituals. Others said she could curse anyone who crossed her path. Whether the stories were true or not, fear kept people silent. And silence allowed Joy's suffering to continue. When she reached the stream, several women were already fetching water. One elderly woman watched Joy carefully. Her name was Mama Ada. Unlike most villagers, she sometimes spoke her mind. "My daughter," she said gently, "you are too young to carry all this weight." Joy smiled. "I'm fine, Mama." Mama Ada shook her head. No child should be doing this every day. Joy filled the containers with water. The old woman sighed. She wanted to say more. But experience had taught her that helping Joy often attracted Madam Koikoi's anger. Several people had already learned that lesson the hard way. So she remained silent. Like everyone else. Joy balanced one container on her head and carried the other with both hands. Then she began the long journey home. Halfway there, sweat covered her face. Her neck hurt. Her arms trembled. But she kept moving. She had learned long ago that complaining changed nothing. As she approached home, laughter echoed from inside the compound. Her sisters were awake. They sat together scrolling through their phones and chatting loudly. The oldest sister, Blessing, noticed Joy first. "Look who is finally back." The second sister laughed. Maybe she stopped to admire herself in the stream. The youngest joined in. Or maybe she found a boyfriend. The three girls burst into laughter. Joy ignored them. She had heard worse. Much worse. She quietly placed the containers in the kitchen area. Then Madam Koikoi appeared. The woman immediately frowned. "Why did it take you so long?" Joy blinked. "Mama, I came straight back." "Are you arguing with me?" "No, Mama." Madam Koikoi pointed toward a pile of dirty clothes. "Wash all of them." Then she pointed toward another corner. "And clean the dishes." Then another direction. "And sweep the compound." Joy stared silently. The tasks would take hours. Meanwhile her sisters remained seated. Laughing. Scrolling through social media. Taking selfies. Doing absolutely nothing. But nobody asked them to help. Because in Madam Koikoi's eyes, Joy existed for one purpose only. To serve. To suffer. To endure. The day continued exactly as expected. By afternoon, Joy's hands hurt from scrubbing clothes. Her back ached. Her stomach growled from hunger. Yet she continued working. At school, teachers often praised her intelligence. Despite everything happening at home, she remained one of the brightest students in her class. Her teachers believed she had enormous potential. One teacher in particular saw something special in her. His name was Mr. Chukwu. One afternoon, he called Joy after class. "Joy." "Yes, sir." "I marked your examination papers." Joy waited nervously. Then he smiled. "You scored the highest in the entire class." Her eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes." Joy's face lit up with happiness. Moments like these were rare. Very rare. Mr. Chukwu leaned forward. "You are gifted." "Thank you, sir." "You must continue your education." Joy lowered her eyes. The thought made her sad. School fees were always a problem. Books were expensive. Even uniforms sometimes became impossible to replace. Mr. Chukwu noticed her expression. "What is wrong?" She hesitated. Then she forced a smile. "Nothing, sir." The teacher understood she was hiding something. But he respected her silence. "Never give up, Joy." "I won't, sir." Those words remained in her heart. Never give up. The following weeks brought even greater challenges. Madam Koikoi's treatment became harsher. Sometimes Joy was punished for things she never did. If money went missing, Joy was blamed. If food burned, Joy was blamed. If visitors arrived unexpectedly, Joy was blamed. Nothing she did seemed right. One evening, a painful incident shocked the village. A trader had visited the house to buy some farm produce. While helping carry goods, Joy accidentally dropped a basket. A few tomatoes rolled onto the ground. It was a simple mistake. An ordinary accident. But Madam Koikoi exploded with rage. Before anyone could react, she slapped Joy repeatedly. The sound echoed through the compound. The trader stood frozen. Neighbors watched from nearby houses. Joy fell to the ground. Her cheek burned. Tears gathered in her eyes. Yet she refused to cry loudly. She simply stood up and continued working. The silence broke many hearts. That evening, villagers discussed the incident. What kind of mother behaves like that? That girl suffers too much. Someone should intervene. But who will confront Madam Koikoi? The conversations always ended the same way. Fear. Fear silenced everyone. Meanwhile, Joy sat alone behind the house. The moon shone softly above her. For the first time in a long while, tears rolled down her face. Not because of the slap. Not because of the insults. Not because of the endless work. But because she genuinely wanted to understand. Why? Why did her mother hate her so much? What had she done wrong? She replayed every memory she could remember. Every conversation. Every punishment. Every angry look. Nothing made sense. She treated her mother with respect. She obeyed instructions. She worked harder than everyone else. Yet the hatred only grew stronger. The young girl hugged her knees and stared at the stars. Then she whispered softly, "God, what did I do?" No answer came. Only the gentle sound of crickets singing in the darkness. But somewhere in the future, answers were waiting. Hidden beneath secrets nobody had revealed. Secrets buried long before Joy was born. Secrets that would eventually destroy Madam Koikoi's carefully hidden lies. Secrets that would explain everything. And when the truth finally surfaced, the entire village would be left speechless. The years passed slowly for Joy. Every morning began before sunrise. Every day was filled with chores. Every night ended with exhaustion. Yet one thing never changed. Her smile. People often wondered how she managed to remain cheerful despite everything she endured. Some believed she was unusually strong. Others thought she simply hid her pain well. The truth was somewhere in between. Joy had learned very early that bitterness could destroy a person from the inside. She had watched anger consume her mother. She had watched jealousy ruin relationships. She had watched laziness steal opportunities from her sisters. She refused to become like them. So even when life hurt, she chose kindness. Even when she cried in private, she smiled in public. Even when she felt forgotten, she remained hopeful. That hope became her greatest weapon. By the time she turned 14, Joy had become one of the brightest students in her secondary school. Teachers admired her discipline. Students respected her intelligence. Whenever examination results were released, her name appeared near the top. But success brought new problems at home. Madam Koikoi disliked any attention directed toward Joy. Every compliment felt like an insult to her. Every achievement irritated her. One afternoon, Joy returned home carrying her report card. Her heart raced with excitement. She had finished first in her class. Again. The principal had personally congratulated her. For once, she hoped her mother would be proud. As she entered the compound, she found Madam Koikoi sitting outside with several women. Joy greeted respectfully. "Good afternoon, Mama." The cold response was expected. Still, Joy handed over the report card. "I got my results today." Madam Koikoi glanced at it briefly. The women sitting nearby leaned forward curiously. One of them smiled. "First position again." Another woman nodded. "This girl is brilliant." The compliments continued. Joy waited nervously. Maybe this time her mother would smile. Maybe this time, she would hear words every child longs to hear. I am proud of you. Instead, Madam Koikoi threw the report card onto the ground. You think books will cook food? The women fell silent. Joy froze. You spend all your time reading while work remains unfinished. Mama, I completed today's chores before school. Are you arguing with me? No, Mama. Then go inside and prepare dinner. Joy quietly picked up the report card. Her excitement disappeared instantly. The women exchanged uncomfortable glances. Nobody spoke. Nobody intervened. The moment passed, just like countless others before it. That evening, Joy sat outside under a mango tree reading one of her borrowed textbooks. Books had become her escape. Through them, she visited places she had never seen. She met people she would never have met. She imagined a future different from her present reality. As she studied, footsteps approached. It was Mr. Chukwu, her former teacher. He had recently been transferred to a nearby school but still visited the village occasionally. Good evening, Joy. She stood immediately. Good evening, sir. He noticed the textbook. Still studying? She smiled. Yes, sir. Good. He sat beside her. For several moments, they discussed schoolwork. Then his expression became serious. I have good news. Joy looked curious. What is it, sir? There is an academic scholarship examination next month. Her eyes widened. A scholarship? Mr. Chukwu nodded. The organization sponsors outstanding students through secondary school. Joy's heart began beating faster. Really? Yes. But many students will apply. I know. The teacher smiled warmly. And I believe you can win. Hope flooded her heart. A scholarship could change everything. It could reduce the burden of school fees. It could open doors she never imagined. For the first time in weeks, genuine excitement returned to her face. Thank you, sir. You deserve the opportunity. As Mr. Chukwu left, Joy felt something she had not experienced for a long time. Possibility. Maybe her future was not already decided. Maybe she could escape the cycle surrounding her. Maybe her dreams were achievable after all. Unfortunately, not everyone shared her enthusiasm. The following day, her sisters discovered the scholarship application form. Blessing laughed loudly. So our little servant wants to become a professor. The second sister rolled her eyes. Who does she think she is? The youngest smirked. She should focus on washing plates. The insults continued throughout the evening. Joy ignored them. She had become skilled at ignoring cruelty. But then Madam Koikoi entered the conversation. What scholarship? Blessing handed her the form. Madam Koikoi read it slowly. Her expression darkened immediately. Who gave you this? My teacher. You will not waste your time. Joy's stomach tightened. Mama. I said no. But Mama. The woman stood abruptly. No means no. The conversation ended. At least for everyone else. But not for Joy. That night, she could not sleep. The scholarship represented hope. A chance. An opportunity she might never receive again. Giving up without trying felt impossible. The next morning, she gathered courage and approached her mother again. Mama, please. Madam Koikoi glared at her. What now? I want to write the examination. No, please. The older woman stood silently for several moments. Then something unexpected happened. She laughed. A cold, bitter laugh. You actually believe you will become successful? Joy remained silent. You are dreaming too much. The words pierced her heart. But she refused to cry. I only want a chance. Madam Koikoi moved closer. Listen carefully. Her voice became harsh. You will never be anything special. Every word landed like a stone. You will never become important. Joy lowered her eyes. You will never rise above this family. Silence followed. Then Madam Koikoi turned and walked away. leaving Joy standing alone. Broken. Humiliated. But not defeated. Because deep inside her heart, another voice existed. A quieter voice. A stronger voice. The voice that had carried her through years of suffering. The voice that whispered, "Do not give up." Several weeks later, the scholarship examination arrived. Against all odds, Joy participated. She studied every spare moment. She revised under lantern light late into the night. She memorized formulas while fetching water. She reviewed notes while washing clothes. Every challenge became motivation. Every insult became fuel. Every obstacle strengthened her determination. Then came examination day. Hundreds of students gathered at the center. Some arrived with parents offering encouragement. Others came with teachers offering support. Joy arrived alone. As usual. Yet she walked into the examination hall with confidence. Because she carried something more powerful than support. She carried resilience. The kind forged through hardship. The kind developed through suffering. The kind capable of changing destinies. Hours later, the examination ended. Students discussed questions nervously. Joy remained calm. She had done her best. Now all she could do was wait. Weeks passed. Then one afternoon, a motorcycle stopped in front of the house. The rider carried an official envelope. Inside was news that would change Joy's life forever. News capable of opening doors nobody believed she could enter. News that would make the village celebrate. And news that would fill Madam Koikoi with a dangerous anger she could no longer hide. Because for the first time, Joy's future was beginning to shine brighter than anyone imagined. And the woman who hated her most was about to realize she could no longer stop it. The motorcycle rider wiped sweat from his forehead as he stopped in front of Madam Koikoi's compound. Children playing nearby immediately gathered around him. Visitors rarely came carrying official envelopes. Curiosity spread quickly. What is inside? Who is it for? Maybe somebody won something. The rider ignored the questions and walked toward the house. Inside the compound, Joy was washing clothes. Her hands were covered with soap. Her back ached from bending over the washing basin for hours. Meanwhile, her sisters sat under a tree scrolling through their phones and laughing at videos. As usual, they contributed nothing to the household work. The rider cleared his throat. "Is this Madam Koikoi's house?" "Yes," Joy replied politely. "I have a letter for Miss Joy." Her heart skipped a beat. A letter. For her. She quickly rinsed her hands and accepted the envelope. The logo on the front looked familiar. Very familiar. Her hands began trembling. It was from the scholarship organization. Immediately, her pulse quickened. For weeks, she had waited anxiously. Every day, she wondered whether she had passed. Every night she prayed for good news. Now the answer was finally in her hands. The entire compound suddenly felt silent. Even her sisters stopped talking. Madam Koikoi stepped outside. "What is happening?" Nobody answered. Everyone watched Joy. Slowly, she opened the envelope. Her eyes moved across the first line. Then the second. Then the third. Suddenly, she froze. The paper slipped slightly from her fingers. Her eyes widened. Tears gathered instantly. The rider smiled. "Congratulations." Joy covered her mouth. She could hardly breathe. The words on the letter felt unreal. She had passed. Not only had she passed, she had achieved one of the highest scores in the entire state. The organization had awarded her a full educational scholarship. School fees, books, uniforms, academic support. Everything would be covered. For several seconds, she simply stood there staring at the letter. Unable to speak. Unable to move. Unable to believe it. Then tears rolled down her cheeks. Not tears of sadness. Tears of relief. Years of struggle suddenly felt worthwhile. Years of sacrifice suddenly had meaning. The little girl who studied under lantern light had finally been noticed. The girl nobody believed in had finally been recognized. The hardworking child carrying water containers from the stream had finally received an opportunity. The villagers erupted with excitement. Congratulations! Wonderful news. We knew she could do it. Some women hugged her. Others praised her intelligence. Children danced around the compound. The celebration spread throughout the village within hours. Everywhere, people talked about Joy, the scholarship girl, the brilliant child, the pride of the village. People who had watched her suffer since childhood felt genuine happiness for her. They remembered her carrying heavy loads. They remembered her endless chores. They remembered her patience and kindness. Now they felt as if one of their own had finally won. But inside the house, another emotion was growing. Jealousy. Dangerous jealousy. Blessing sat silently, staring at the ground. Her sisters looked equally unhappy. The attention directed toward Joy irritated them deeply. For years they had mocked her. For years, they treated her like a servant. Now, everyone praised her. The sudden change was difficult to accept. The eldest sister finally spoke. So everybody is acting like she became president. The second sister laughed bitterly. It is only a scholarship. The youngest folded her arms. They are exaggerating. Yet even they knew the truth. This achievement mattered. And it represented something larger. A future. A future none of them had bothered preparing for. While Joy studied, they chased trends. While Joy worked hard, they wasted time. While Joy sacrificed comfort, they pursued entertainment. Now the consequences were beginning to appear. Madam Koikoi remained unusually quiet throughout the day. She watched the celebrations without participating. She listened to the compliments without smiling. Inside her heart, conflicting emotions battled fiercely. Part of her recognized Joy's achievement. Part of her understood how remarkable it was. But another part felt threatened. The same uncomfortable feeling she always experienced whenever Joy succeeded. The same feeling she never admitted to anyone. The same feeling she struggled to understand herself. That evening, several village elders visited the compound. They wanted to personally congratulate Joy. One elderly man spoke proudly. "This girl has brought honor to the entire community." Another nodded. "She represents hope for other children." The compliments continued. Joy remained humble. She thanked everyone respectfully. She never bragged. Never boasted. Never acted superior. That humility impressed people even more. After the visitors left, Joy sat quietly outside. The scholarship letter rested on her lap. Moonlight illuminated the page. She read it repeatedly. Each time, the words felt more real. Her future was changing. Slowly, but surely. For the first time in her life, she could clearly imagine possibilities beyond the village. University. A career. Independence. Freedom. Dreams that once seemed impossible were becoming visible. Then footsteps approached. It was Mr. Chakwu. The teacher smiled broadly. "I heard the news." Joy stood immediately. "Sir." "You did it." Tears filled her eyes again. "Thank you." "No." He shook his head. "You earned it." The teacher sat beside her. "I am proud of you." The words struck her deeply. More deeply than he realized. Because they were words she had never heard from the one person she wanted them from most. Her mother. Mr. Chakwu noticed her expression. "You still wish she would say it, don't you?" Joy remained silent. The teacher sighed gently. Some people are unable to give the love others deserve. She looked toward the house. "I don't understand why she hates me." The teacher hesitated. Then he answered carefully. "Sometimes the problem is not you." Joy frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" "Some people carry wounds they never heal from." She thought about those words long after he left. Maybe he was right. Maybe her mother's hatred had nothing to do with her. Maybe there was another reason. A hidden reason. A secret. A truth nobody knew. Inside the house, Madam Koikoi sat alone in darkness. Everyone else had gone to sleep. But she remained awake. The scholarship letter haunted her thoughts. Every success Joy achieved reminded her of something she desperately wanted to forget. Something buried deep in the past. A decision. A mistake. a secret she had hidden for years. The memories returned despite her efforts to suppress them. A wealthy man. A marriage proposal. An unexpected pregnancy. A future lost forever. The emotions she buried long ago resurfaced painfully. Anger. Regret. Bitterness. Shame. She clenched her fists tightly. No. She could not think about that. Not now. Not ever. Yet the memories refused to disappear. Because destiny was moving forward. And secrets buried for years rarely remain hidden forever. Soon, truths would emerge. Truths capable of destroying relationships. Truths capable of exposing years of injustice. Truths capable of explaining why one innocent child became the target of a mother's relentless hatred. And when those truths finally surfaced, the entire village would discover that Joy's suffering had started long before she was even born. The months following Joy's scholarship victory brought dramatic changes to her life. For the first time, she no longer worried constantly about school fees. She received textbooks, learning materials, and support from the scholarship organization. Teachers paid closer attention to her progress. Community leaders proudly mentioned her name during village gatherings. People saw her as a symbol of hope. A reminder that hard work could still overcome difficult circumstances. Yet despite all these positive changes, one thing remained painfully the same. Her mother's treatment. Madam Koikoi still found fault in almost everything Joy did. If Joy returned home early, she was accused of being lazy. If she returned home late because of school activities, she was accused of irresponsibility. If she scored high marks, Madam Koikoi dismissed the achievement. If she received praise from teachers, her mother called it favoritism. Nothing Joy did was ever enough. Nothing. One evening, after spending hours studying for an important examination, Joy entered the house carrying her books. Immediately, Madam Koikoi frowned. So now books are more important than your family. Joy stopped walking. Mama, I finished all my chores before going to school. The woman laughed bitterly. That scholarship has made you proud. No, Mama. Don't lie to me. Joy lowered her head. She had learned long ago that arguing only made situations worse. But something had changed inside her. Not rebellion. Not disrespect. Confidence. For the first time in her life, she was beginning to believe in herself. And that frightened Madam Koikoi more than she cared to admit. Because the stronger Joy became, the harder it was to control her. The more successful Joy became, the more painful old memories became. Memories Madam Koikoi desperately wanted to forget. But the past has a strange way of returning. Especially when secrets are involved. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Joy continued excelling academically. Her name became known beyond the village. Teachers recommended her for leadership programs. Educational organizations invited her to competitions. Every opportunity seemed to open another door. Meanwhile, her sisters followed a very different path. Blessing had dropped out of school completely. Most of her time was spent chasing trends on social media. The second sister moved from one relationship to another, constantly searching for shortcuts to success. The youngest spent her days gossiping and posting pictures online while avoiding any responsibility at home. Their futures slowly began slipping away. Yet none of them accepted responsibility. Instead, they blamed everyone else. Especially Joy. One afternoon, the sisters gathered inside the living room. Their conversation soon turned into complaints. Everybody talks about Joy. Joy this. Joy that. I'm tired of hearing her name. The youngest sister rolled her eyes. You would think she built a university. They laughed. But beneath the laughter was resentment. Years ago, they had looked down on her. Now people compare them to her. And they hated it. Madam Koikoi listened quietly. Then she surprised them. Leave her alone. The room fell silent. The sisters exchanged shocked glances. Their mother had never defended Joy before. Not once. Blessing frowned. What do you mean? Madam Koikoi stood abruptly. I said leave her alone. Then she walked away. The girls stared after her. Confused. Something was changing. And they could all feel it. That same evening, a major event was organized at Joy's school. Outstanding students from different communities would receive awards. Joy had been selected as one of the honorees. Parents and guardians were invited. For several days, Joy debated whether to ask her mother to attend. Part of her wanted to. Despite everything, she still longed for her mother's approval. Still hoped for acceptance. Still dreamed that one day things would change. Finally, she gathered courage. "Mama." "What?" "There is an award ceremony at school next Friday." Madam Koikoi remained silent. "I was hoping you could come." The older woman looked away. For several moments, she said nothing. Then she answered quietly, "I will think about it." Joy smiled. It was not a promise. But it was more positive than anything she usually received. Friday arrived. The school hall was beautifully decorated. Parents filled the seats. Teachers moved around making final preparations. Students waited nervously. Joy sat near the front. Every few minutes, she glanced toward the entrance. Hoping. Waiting. Searching for a familiar face. But the doorway remained empty. The ceremony began. Still no sign of Madam Koikoi. Awards were presented. Speeches were delivered. Students received recognition. Then Joy's name was called. The hall erupted with applause. She walked to the stage confidently. Her achievements were read aloud. Academic excellence. Leadership. Community service. Scholarship recipient. Future university candidate. The applause grew louder. As Joy accepted her award, she smiled politely. But inside her heart, a small sadness remained. The one person she wanted to witness this moment was absent. Again. After the ceremony ended, she slowly gathered her belongings. Then she heard a familiar voice. "Joy." She turned around. And froze. Standing near the entrance was Madam Koikoi. Joy blinked repeatedly. "Mama." The woman looked uncomfortable. Almost nervous. Very unlike her usual self. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Madam Koikoi looked at the award in Joy's hands. And quietly said something Joy never expected to hear. "You did well." Joy's eyes widened. The words felt unreal. After years of criticism. Years of insults. Years of rejection. Those three simple words carried enormous weight. "You did well." Tears immediately filled Joy's eyes. "Thank you, Mama." Madam Koikoi quickly looked away, as though embarrassed by her own kindness. Then she turned and started walking toward home. Joy followed silently. Neither knew it would be one of the most important evenings of their lives. Because that night, something happened. Something unexpected. Something capable of destroying a secret hidden for nearly 2 decades. A storm arrived shortly after midnight. Thunder shook the village. Heavy rain pounded rooftops. Strong winds rattled windows. Most villagers remained indoors. But inside Madam Koikoi's room, sleep refused to come. The old memories had returned again. Stronger than ever. She remembered a wealthy businessman from years ago. A man who had wanted to marry her. A man capable of giving her luxury and comfort. A man she believed would change her life forever. Then she remembered the moment everything collapsed. The discovery. The confrontation. The shame. The pregnancy she was already carrying. Joy. The child she blamed for everything she lost. The child she punished for a decision she never made. The child she spent years resenting. Madam Koikoi covered her face and began crying. Real tears. Painful tears. Years of guilt finally surfaced. For the first time, she could no longer pretend. She could no longer hide from the truth. She had wronged Joy. Terribly. And deep inside, she knew one day she would have to confess everything. Outside, lightning flashed across the sky. Thunder roared again. Inside another room, Joy sat awake beside her window, watching the rain, thinking about her future, dreaming about university, dreaming about success, dreaming about a life beyond pain. She had no idea that the greatest revelation of her life was approaching. A revelation buried before she was even born. A revelation that would explain every beating, every insult, every punishment, every act of cruelty. And when the truth finally came out, it would leave the entire village speechless. Because the story of Joy's suffering was never really about Joy at all. It began with a choice her mother made many years ago. A choice whose consequences were finally coming back. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Tales by Savvy Sam for more powerful African stories filled with drama, suspense, family secrets, karma, resilience, and unforgettable life lessons. Also, tell us in the comments, do you think Joy should forgive her mother after discovering the truth, or should some wounds never be forgiven? Your answer may appear in the next story discussion.